Hey guys, I'm Tiffany Harlick, and you found me on the Wise Skies channel. And it's one of my favorite times of year in astrology. It's when we're pausing and taking a look back at the year that has passed, doing some reflection, and then looking ahead to the coming year. So today I'm going to give you what I see is going on in the year 2022. It is not a full comprehensive astrological study of every single thing. It is kind of the hot takes that I see that I feel are worth sharing and worth kind of having on the conversation table as we're closing out this year. Um, so there are a lot of different ways we can dissect the astrology. So just to give you kind of a heads up on how we're going to look at it together today, I'm going to give you a little bit of housekeeping about Wise Skies. We're going to do a very short look back. I'm going to give you my hot takes on media, what I think we're going to see in the news, what I think some good advices for love and money and gardening and just those quick flashes. So if you're like, just give me the good stuff, I'm going to give that to you right at the beginning. Then I'm going to do the overview of the planets, right? Where are things as we start this year? And then my favorite part is kind of the highlight reel, starting in January, watching kind of the bell curve of the year and how that's going to go energetically with the astrology. Last, we're going to look at the numerology. I think that the numerology I'm so excited about. It's my favorite time, my favorite number of year to be in. We're in a 6 universal year. So I have a lot of good news at that point. And we're also going to dip our toes into the USA Pluto return and talk about a little practical magic at the end. So this is a jam-packed episode. I've done my studying, and I hope that you enjoy it. And I just encourage you to take what you like, to leave the rest. There are many people looking at the astrology. We all come to it with our own different experiences and perceptions and lenses. And so this is mine, and I'm just honored to share it with you. So to get started, I just wanted to do a little bit of housekeeping. If you're brand new here, again, I'm Tiffany, and this is Wise Skies. WiseSkiesCollective.com is a metaphysical counseling company. We offer one-on-one sessions, but we also offer a really cool membership. And the one-on-one sessions come from our intuitives who have years of experience and are seekers on the path that have real life work, behind the advice and guidance. We offer psychic development, we offer tarot, we offer astrology, human design, Akashic records, 9-star key, all kinds of esoteric counseling services to help you, get that little extra nugget, right? That little tune-up. But we really encourage you to be part of the membership. We're moving away from classes available anytime for anyone and only offering our special focused class energy for our members. It's $22 a month. You can cancel anytime. You can have a heyday of a month and go in and get all the goodies and cancel, or you could stay and get kind of the ongoing support that the membership offers. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention because in January coming up, on the 4th at 6 o'clock, we're hosting an Enneagram Know Your Number workshop with April. And on January 6th, we are offering a human design support Zoom. So if you've had some human design or if you're new to human design, Alicia is going to offer a support hour where you can come and ask her basically anything that you want to ask about your design and how you're understanding it, how your experiment is going, right? So there's those. I also do the Astro Tarot, so I'm doing Tarot for every sign in the Zodiac. We've got April doing a special Akashic Records focus for 2022, so if you want to know what the Akashic Records have to say. Jen is going to offer us some 9-star key insights. And I just wanted to say, make sure that you get Celeste's new moon map class in the membership because it's really powerful. Our friend Celeste Brooks with Astrology by Celeste came and did the class for December, and that's in the section where you can watch all the past classes. So I just wanted to invite everybody, and now that we've got our housekeeping out of the way, doing a little looking back, where we're coming from, the landscape. 2021 was a 5-year, right? We talked about how things were going to feel scattered. Almost like bombs go off, right? Like things feel very divisive, very unsure, very adventurous, very exciting, right? Like it's a new world, but it's also, we don't quite have our sea legs yet. That's very symptomatic of a 5-year, but also we had those 3 big Saturn-Uranus squares. And we saw a lot of destruction. We saw a lot of things crumbling. We saw a lot of things that needed to be rebuilt, right? So we're coming out of this, or we're in a time when there's a world pandemic, right? We're in a time when there's airborne disease. We're in a time when families and communities and friends are operating through some deep fears, right, about their own lives. We're operating in a time where there's been a lot of chaos. And so we want to feel calm. We want to feel certain. We want the astrology to show us the smooth, easy road, right? We want that easier, softer way. And so I just want to acknowledge, wow, like 2021, there was a lot of shock and awe. There was a lot of changes and chaos. Our school systems were doing this. Our homes were doing this. Our healthcare systems were doing this. Our global economies were doing this, right? So that felt very disruptive. And so acknowledging that, right? Like sealing that, like, thank you for that year. Thank you for the lessons that we learned. Thank you for helping us see some things that were previously unseen, and leaving that there, you know. Now, I also want to acknowledge that New Year's can be a very difficult time for people that have lost loved ones, because essentially what my experience is and what others have shared is that we're leaving that one in the past, you know, that they're not coming forward with us into that new year. And so I want to acknowledge that too, for anybody grieving or anybody that is just finding themselves in a new pace, in a new space, in a new territory. New Year's can be one of those powerful times where we access some of our deeper emotions, right? So that's in there too. But what I'm going to tell you about 2022, my media predictions, my quickie horoscopes, you know, I just feel like hurry culture is out. I feel like slow culture is in. We see a lot of this, like the great resignation and people quitting their jobs. We see a lot of people just not wanting to be under the pressure of something that seems to not matter. It's like we've gotten this wake-up call, or like a reminder, like, hey, this is your precious human life. What do you want to do with it? Do you want to be plugged into the machine? Now, sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes that's energizing. You know, sometimes that's useful. Sometimes you're disseminating lots of information. Sometimes that's great, right? But I'm feeling like, looking at the patterns, that hurry culture is out and that slow culture is in. The United States is facing our Pluto return, that 6th universal year. The nodes are changing into Taurus and Scorpio. It's not going to be a smooth year. I'm going to break it to you. But it is going to be a year when maybe we finally can slow down, you know? There's a gift in slowing down. There's a gift in the I rune. There's a gift in ice and pausing and looking at things from lots of different angles instead of forward all the time. So if you want to rush, if you want to crush goals, I think you're going to hate this episode. And I love to rush and I love to crush goals. I don't think this is the right season for that. So what is this the season for? What do I think we're going to see in the media? I think that what we're going to see is that sorry doesn't cut it. I think that there's going to be a lot of restorative justice stories, especially in the United States where I practice and live. I think we're going to see Bigfoot and aliens. I think in the news, I think we're going to continue to cover things like crystal caves and secrets of the earth, right? As Pluto returns, as the North Node moves into Taurus, as Uranus is in Taurus, shaking things up. So secrets of the earth, right? I think that we're going to continue to see worker strikes. I think we're going to see them specifically in schools, teacher strikes, maybe the kids strike. I don't know. We used to like have this romanticized version of it's everybody quit Friday, or whatever was it called, you know, kids of the 80s. It was like everybody just strikes on Friday and we're not, it's like no school day. I can't think of what it was called. I think we're going to see more things like that as the year gets on later into the year, and I'm going to tell you why. I think we're going to see redistribution of taxes and properties and boundaries and lines, and that is changing, right? The localization is changing. So I think that that will be in the headlines. And I also, unfortunately, think that we're going to see some poisonous gas or oil leaks, or what has been covered up in the past will now be made known. Okay, so as we get more information about how harmful it is to use toxic chemicals and pesticides, or oops, yeah, that thing happened and it's in the earth and it's been covered up and that was a secret and now it's not. Those type of headlines. I want to throw it out there that I love the topic of mushrooms for bioremediation. There's so many great resources. I encourage you to get involved with your local mycology community. If you have a local garden club or a mushroom club, there's so much that you can do with mushrooms in your own backyard, but also to help the earth recover as a whole. So things in the media, mushrooms, right? All right, we're gonna go into the quickie horoscopes here. If you're looking for help money, I'm going to say diversify. We know that things are changing drastically and we can't predict what that's going to look like. So what are the things that you can do to diversify without completely diluting things for yourself? I think we're going to continue to see people making money online. I think we're going to need to continue to pivot with technology. I've heard people that are doing cafes that are like the prep food is done by robots. And I know that that disturbs some of the hippie in me, right? But I'm also willing to see, wow, what an interesting technological advancement. If, I don't know, is it an advancement? But the idea is that we're shifting with technology, right? Whether we like it or not, whether we want to use it for good or not, it's available, right? The future shifts are here for the way that we make money. Because I'm saying that hurry culture is out, I wanted to tell you, I just want you to relax, right? I want you to see what's coming to you organically and naturally without you pushing and forcing. I want you to plant some seeds and have some patience in terms of money. But the main thing is diversify. I don't know why I'm doing this. 5 has nothing to do with it. I'm holding my 5 hand up like that means something. It doesn't. I think I was gonna like count like, okay, maybe you got a little crypto, maybe you got a little money in the bank, maybe you got a little, maybe it's you get a credit card boost in terms of having some safety in case of emergencies. Maybe you, right? Like there's a little bit everywhere. Now this drives me nuts because if you have too many bank accounts open, it's you can get yourself into trouble, right? So just be selective, but also be diverse, right? All right, in terms of love and relationship, now we're starting the year off with Venus in retrograde. Mars will go retrograde later in the year. I feel like it's going to be one of those years where people are into proposing and into those commitments and into those like long-term glorification of their high school sweetheart, or that old relationship comes back into focus, or it just feels like we are going to want to get on the ride, you know? So I'm suggesting in the Department of Love that you wait for some emotional clarity before you make your commitments. We're also redefining some of our long-term alliances, right? Not just our like love relationships, but these long-term alliances that we've had, those are undergoing some changes. So waiting for emotional clarity before jumping the gun on something. In health, my hot take for you is to stock up on herbs for lung health, respiratory health. That's going to continue to be a thing, especially at the end of the year. Mars will retrograde in Gemini, agitating the airways. So that's one thing. Also, medicine from the garden for your health, leaning on your body wisdom. Then what do you know to be true in your bones, right? What is the magic of the earth where you live specifically? You know, can you work with that and learn from it? The North Node is in Taurus, right? Or it will be. So eating more plant-based foods is my personal agenda. It's not right for everybody, but this is a great year to make some changes if that feels correct for you. My last little quickie horoscope has to do with the garden, because we've got this the solar eclipse is in Taurus in April 30th, May 1st. It's going to conjunct Uranus, right? So there's going to be some like definite changes when it comes to gardening, how we garden, community gardens. I just want to throw it out there that how fun is it to grow like really quirky, ornamental, interesting heirloom seeds? Maybe you check out seed savers for the first time. Maybe you grow some very curious variety. I just think it's a year where we can really make an impact and try to amplify our seed diversity, the different cultivars, the different types. And I just want to, I guess, offer that for you, because that's the kind of cool Garden of Eden vibe that is possible, that is ripe with the energy this year. And you can't like start your garden in the middle of summer when everything is flourishing, right? Like you need to be thinking about it now. So that's my offer in the garden department. Okay, planetary overview, this brave new world that we're in. Where are things? And then we'll look at like the January through December, kind of the comfort zone of what we're wanting to hear. The planetary overview, to me, I'm really excited about the node shift, mainly because it's going into Taurus and Scorpio. The nodes will shift in January. They've been on the Gemini and Sagittarius axis. And so if you think back, like this has been the last year and a half or so has been a year of learning much. What has come into focus for you? What was your like COVID hobby, if you will, right? So I got into beekeeping and mushrooms, right? Those were my things that I learned that blew my mind, you know, that both changed the way that I operate at a practical level and my philosophies, right? So that's where the nodes have been. If you're brand new to the nodes, they're not a planetary body. They are a point, you know, based, calculated on the moon and the earth. The north node metaphorically points to what we should be reaching for, what we're going to, this point of destiny, fate, this sense of feeling called, right? The south node may be something that we've already experienced, a past life, something that we come with, some innate knowledge, that type of a thing, right? And so that Gemini Sagittarius axis the last 18 months have been about learning. And now they're going into Taurus and Scorpio here. So Taurus, this Taurus Scorpio is about money and security. Yes. It's about the sensual, physical side of life. Yes. But there's something deeper to it that I'm really excited about. So that's where the nodes are going to be. Mercury, Mars, and Venus, they're going to, when they do their retrograde dance this year, it's going to be in earth and air signs. Okay. So all three of those, when they do their retrograde dances, earth and air, you're going to want to allow yourself plenty of time this year to rework ideas, to reconsider things. Air, right? Going back over things in your mind. We're really good at that, and we're trained to do that. And so maybe this year it's like, how can I get it out of my head and let my body decide, right? Get it out of my head and let my body decide. If that's news to you, right? Human design is the answer. Your specific, unique, special human design. There's not one design that's cool and one that's not. They're all beautiful and different. And if you don't already have a human design practitioner, I invite you to check out what we offer at Wise Guys, because it is mind-blowing and life-changing. And that's another way I use that Gemini Sagittarius thing. It's like, learn your human design, fascinating tool. Why didn't we get that at birth, right? Anyways, so the idea here is getting out of your head into your body. Well, if you're not used to your body making these kind of decisions, or you don't know the mechanics of your own aura, maybe check out some of the podcasts that we've done on aura types and see which one resonates, right? So all of those planets, earth and air signs, mind and body alignment, reconsidering what are we wanting to experience? How are we wanting to think? How do we want to shift our thoughts? I have a whole article on the Mercury business transit. So if you want very specific dates for the whole year with Mercury and getting down to business, I'll link that for you. Jupiter is going to dip into Pisces and then move into Aries. And so a lot of the astrologers are like, oh, hope, that just brings so much hope. And it does, you know, it helps us anticipate the good things coming. And that's awesome. Hope and innocence are very important motivators during uncertain times. I'm not sure how I am going to interpret Jupiter in Aries yet, because of where it is with so many other things going on. I feel like it's going to feel more like a fireball. We'll see. But that's where Jupiter is. Saturn is going to be in Aquarius all year through 2023. And these are slow progress with science. These are airborne disease, right? These are robots. These are networks and alliances. Finding yourself wanting to rebel against the system, feeling controlled by the chaos. There's lots of ways you can interpret Saturn, grandpa, in Aquarius, future dude, right? Very different energies. Uranus, the Einstein planet of shock and awe and change and explosion, is going to be in Taurus all year, all the way through 2025. We're going to continue to see changes in food and finances. So having diversity in your money, but also having diversity in your food, right? So having a fresh garden, things that you can access easily, having some frozen food, having some dehydrated or dried food that you can pull from, knowing how to cook with those things. If you're new to dehydrated food, what are some things that would work well for you? What's your human design for digestion? You know, mine's hot thirst. So I shifted a lot of my food, my plant-based food, to soups. That's new for me. That's different. I'm trying something out. I'm trying a new experiment, right? Where do you want to play around and diversify with your money and your food? Neptune going to stay in Pisces all the way through 2025. We just don't know what we don't know. Keep checking in with yourself for what feels true, because I don't think it's going to tell us out there. I think it's going to tell us in here, really in here. Pluto going to stay in Capricorn until 2023, and this is kind of that last resistance. So we've got 3 major planets that are kind of at the end of signs, and it feels like that. It feels like the end of an era, right? Now, if you're 18, 30, 37, 18, 37, 55, or 74, you're going to have your nodal return this year. And this is a time when fate takes you in a whole new direction, right? And so no matter what the astrology says, you're probably going to be on a different kind of high. That 18-year-old feeling that it's your whole new world, you've graduated, or you're on to college, or you're doing a job, or you're moving, or you're never coming back to that hometown, or you're exploring. You know what I mean? That innocence and that freshness of that feeling of being 18, that's real. There's a big nodal return for you. Same thing for 37, 55, and 74. There's a freshness that's different and unique for you this year. And so none of this may apply to you, right? This is just the weather. You can have a good day even if it's raining, right? Even if everybody else is getting wet. Maybe you found a spot under the tree. I don't know. So that's that. We're going to shift and we're going to talk about the big picture overview. So this is kind of my favorite part. So let me freshen up here. It's one of my favorite cups. I got it during the eclipse a couple of years ago in Wyoming with my friend on a road trip. So it feels like a new year on January 1st. The sun is going to trine Uranus. On the 2nd, we're going to get a new moon in 12 degrees of Capricorn. Mercury is going to enter Aquarius. It's going to feel new. It's kind of a tease, really. You know, it really is. There is a lighthouse in January, and I feel like there's more good mojo at the beginning of the year than there is at the end. So again, this isn't a year to hurry and rush and crush, but just be aware that as January starts out, I don't want to say like this is as good as it gets, but it just feels like it's fresh. The nodes are shifting. Focus. It's like the lens clears up for a second. We get really, if you're thinking about the nodes shifting, what I'm thinking about in Taurus and Scorpio is that self-care has to do with your financial health, right? So have you been stalling on learning something or stalling on working on your budget or your estate planning? This is a time when you want to kind of clean it up. That financial integrity is sexy, you know? This is a time when people decide that they're not trading love for money anymore. It's a time to be aware of what does work. These are things in the Taurus North Node that we're reaching for: simplicity, truth, practical action, earth-based stuff, consistency, reliability, right? Taurus. And we also want to acknowledge what isn't working. This is the bad side of Scorpio. So this sounds very cliche, but we're going to see some of this stuff in the media. So we're going to acknowledge the things that don't work about Scorpio. Relying on outside sources, you know, some power outside of here, manipulation, lies, secrets, sex crimes, seduction, emotional hijacking, right? These are things that we're going to be releasing, letting go of, seeing more of as they dissipate. But we're going to focus on that North Node as our North Star. What's simple is not easy, right? What's true might not taste good, right? What's practical, right? I don't have a cute one for that. Sorry, couldn't think that fast. So when I think about the North Node shifting into Taurus in January, I think about finding your inner Stevie Nicks. You know, she's like the ultimate earth goddess who's like rocker and sexy and beautiful and cool. And you weren't going to mess around with her, and you're pretty sure she like is a sorceress. When you think about Stevie Nicks in terms of like January and starting the new year, I think about crystals, earth magic. I think about unplugging. I think about doing your meditations in caves and like in your mind's eye anyways. I think about like, what kind of earth steward do you want to be? North Node in Taurus, in the earth. How do you want to take care of it? What's your thing? Mine's bees, right? And gardens. Maybe you got a different one. Maybe you want to connect with the stone people or the crystal people or the energy behind that for the first time. And you're like, what are you saying, Tiffany? I'm ready to flip the channel. But maybe, you know, stone people, they'll carry these bigger, heavier, darker, griefier emotions if you ask, right? You can blow them into a rock. All kinds of things that you can geek out on. Maybe it's going high. I don't know. You get the idea. Earth magic. That's January. February, we're going to take a chance. This is cool too. So we're still in the good mojo. We've got a new moon in Aquarius on February 1st. So again, it feels new. It feels fresh. It feels future oriented. It feels like things are going in the right direction. It's the beginning of February. Jupiter is going to sextile Uranus. That's one of the biggest astrological events of the year. It happens on the 18th, right before the United States has our first direct hit of our Pluto return. But all along the way, January and February, this Jupiter-Uranus sextile is getting closer and closer. This is when like we get big resolutions. This is a return to joy. This is like a surprise moment. The numerology shifts into an 8. It's a moment where you roll the dice and it works out. It's a moment to go big or go home. It's a time when you can really find solutions in uncanny, unexpected places. And so to be open-minded, to listen, to be solution-oriented in February, you're going to find it. It's there. It's in the air, right? So it still feels really good. And even though the United States is getting our first Pluto return on February 20th, I'm not that worried about it yet. We've been seeing it. It's not like something as big as a Pluto return is going to get to a day and then things are going to change. It's like, no, we've been seeing it. We've been watching how the political landscape has changed the people. The people have changed the political landscape. It's been getting intenser, right? It's like more and more. That first one is not as concerning as the ones that occur in July and December are. I think that's the turning of the nation. But something is going to happen. We might see it, we might not see it, and it's going to be around that February 20th. I wanted to note that the Dust Bowl of the 1930s was the half return of our Pluto here in the States. The Dust Bowl, drought, right? Not a lot of food, supply chain issues, victory gardens. So just making a little note there, again, for your garden world, right? Gardens. Garden for food and garden for lung health. Now we're into April. I know I skipped March because I didn't want to call anything out specifically, but in April, like March, April is spring. We're talking about big patterns. Jupiter is going to conjunct Neptune in Pisces. This is another big, huge astrological moment that marks this year. Okay, so in the spring, this is magnifying the unknown. It's starting a new 13-year cycle. And how I think we're going to see it is in like culture, right? That's very vague and broad, but what I'm seeing and like what I mean, and this is hard because like I'm not very fashion cool, right? So I couldn't tell you when art trends shifted, but I bet it's like that. I bet it's like, oh, there's a change in taste of music, or a new genre of music comes on, or a film is created that changes the world, or you know what I mean? It's like this idea that something in the arts, in the culture changes, and there's a new trend, a new vibe. So if you're that kind of a person, let me know what that trend is, because I'm not that person. Now, that's the good side. What else are we going to see in terms of big culture and big media? Mars is going to conjunct Neptune in early April. Are there complications with drugs and vaccines? Are there complications that we didn't see coming or that we did see coming? That Mars in the mix there is like very inserty and pointy and aggressive and competitive. So do we get ahead with medicine, or do we get like in that kind of war zone about it, right? Like, are there, I don't want to put some bad stuff out there. You know where I'm going with that. It just looks like, ooh. So maybe that change in culture isn't as pleasant as the film that changes the world. And maybe that's why. Maybe it's a both and. It can be a really epic masterpiece debut period is that spring of 2022. So if you've been working on that masterpiece novel or epic piece, like maybe, you know, don't not write it, right? That's like your takeaway that you get from this. Tiffany said, don't not write it for 2022. Okay, it's also eclipse season. So during that whole culture changing moment, Jupiter, Neptune, Mars in there, is eclipse season. So is it too good to be true, or is it big magic? Are things working in my favor? Is life happening for me, not to me, right? Now, in May, I have all of the red flags up, all of them. I was really struggling to find something pleasant to say about May, and it's not my job to make a rainstorm look or sound pretty. Sometimes it's just not. May looks like burnout. It looks like a hot mess. It looks like wishy-washy, and don't push it, you know? May is not your favorite month of the year, astrologically speaking. Now, of course, different maybe for some of you having brilliant personal years. I don't know. But if you're needing to have a heads up, May 10th, Mercury is going to retrograde in the Gemini and Taurus area all the way through June 2nd. People are going to change their minds. It's going to feel wishy-washy. You're going to go back and forth. There's benefit to that, especially if you're editing something and you see something, you catch something the second time through, but it can also be really crazy making, right? You're kicking tires, right? So that's there. Also that day is when Jupiter moves into Aries all the way. Jupiter will be in Aries May 10th through October 28th. To me, it just feels like very fireball-y. I could think of a lot of other positive things to say. I don't know why. It's just mixed in with this other hot mess of stuff here. So I just want to acknowledge that's what I'm seeing. May 16th, we're going to get an eclipse in 25 degrees of Scorpio. This particular eclipse is going to square Saturn in Aquarius. This is very friction feeling. This is very life-altering feeling. You know, this isn't like, oh, a beautiful new eclipse. Everything's working out perfectly. This is like, oh, this is an abrupt, rude awakening type of a feeling. On the 17th, Saturn is going to semi-sextile Neptune. This is in Aquarius and Pisces. I think that people are going to feel sidetracked, disillusioned, thrown off course, bait and switched. On the 18th is when Mars will conjunct Neptune in Pisces, and that really makes me think of invasions. Some of you guys that know me, I have had invasion dreams for a really long time. And I have documented them. So by really long time, I mean like 2 months of maybe 6 out of 7 days, there's some kind of invasion dream. They involve foreign countries. They involve people I know. They involve people I don't know. It's just very bizarre to have so many. And now I'm like, I want to go back and look through the dreams to see if there's any portending of what we might be seeing in May with all of this hot mess of energy that feels very confusing. Don't make big decisions during that month if you don't have to, right? Sometimes you're up against a corner. Sometimes you got to drive through fly through the Bermuda Triangle on Friday the 13th at midnight. Sometimes it's just how it worked, right? So it's not like pause and do nothing in fear. Just be aware. Like if you're an accident prone person, watch your step. Swallow completely. You know what I mean? I know you've been at the like dinner table and it's gotten real awkward real fast when you took a sip of water and it just like didn't work. All right, so that gets us kind of into the summer. Are we going to see supply chain shifts in border issues in July? Okay, I think so. It's a pivotal month for the future of the US of A. It's our second Pluto return pass. It happens exactly on July 11th. During that time, Saturn will be retrograde and it will be squishing down on the moon of the United States of America. The people are not going to be duped anymore. They're not going to be controlled. They're going to feel the pressure, both emotionally and pretty much every which way. It just doesn't feel like, okay, so if you think about Saturn, it's like that borders and boundaries. I feel like those are going to be really, really challenged. Uranus is going to conjunct the North Node. I just feel like there's going to be different twists of fate, and that's why being prepared with your food and finances, being diverse, having your garden and your own ability to self-sustain, and your neighbors, right? It's not just like me, feed me. It's like, no, like this is how are we interacting with the land and our communities in a right relationship, peaceful, harmonic way. I think that's going to be really important by the time we get to July, because it feels very much like, things are going to go haywire. Mars is going to conjunct Uranus. I mean, forget about it. That's like explosions, disruptions, forest fires, droughts, grenades. Like, I mean, I'm hoping to use that metaphorically, but it just, Mars is like, and Uranus, I can't think of a better way to describe it other than explosions, right? So I don't feel like people are going to be on the same page. In the United States chart, Mars is in Gemini. We were always going to be of a different mind. But can we not be scared of each other and allow people to live and let live? Looks like a lot of upheaval. There are a lot of astrologers that have studied these Pluto returns through different cultures, right? The Roman Empire fell during their second Pluto return. It's not like we're the Roman Empire and it's the end of the USA forever. I don't think that it's going to be like that, but you can't get around the fact that whatever corruption is kind of on the surface, it feels like it's going to be made known. It feels like it's very much going to be exposed and raw and nerve-wracking. And so for those of you that are called to hold that vision of peace and love, right? This is your time. This is what you were born for. This is what you came for. Do your yoga, do your meditation, do your prayers, your chants, whatever it is that you do to stay centered, and then hold that up for the United States, but hold it up for anybody that needs it, right? That's what metta is for, loving kindness. It's an offering. This is your time. This is your time to shine, right? You're the one that can hold the wheels steady through like the bumpy road here, right? You're the one that can see it's okay, we're coming around that bend, right? Okay. So I told you it was going to be awesome at the beginning and start to kind of like, crash. So that's where we're seeing. We're like May, ouch, June, July. Okay. And then we get into the fall. So Mars is going to retrograde in November. Yeah, October 30th. The Scorpio eclipse on the 25th. This is going to bring a little bit of awareness. I say a little bit, I don't mean a little bit. It's going to bring a lot of awareness, October 25th. And, the eclipse is in Scorpio. Scorpio is ruled by both Mars and Pluto. Pluto doing its Pluto return thing for the States. Mars going retrograde, okay? No, I don't think it's going to be comfortable. And in fact, if you are uncomfortable, you're probably growing. It's going to be okay. And you can just keep telling yourself, if I'm uncomfortable, I'm growing, and it's okay, right? When I was pregnant, my midwife used to say, you don't have to like it. It doesn't have to taste good. You got to chew it up and eat it, right? Swallow it, get the nutrients, and go forward, right? And that's what we're doing here. We're chewing it up. We're getting the nutrients. Might not taste good. So Mars retrogrades in Gemini for the rest of the year. Mars represents challenges, energy, competition, war, gas, like fuel, fire, right? Stamina. Gemini governs the lungs, the shoulders, the hands, the wrists. It governs our schools, our teachers, how we learn, how we take in information, how we communicate with others. So Mars in Gemini reverse, apparent retrograde motion, during this Pluto return period for the States. Now, I realize we're talking to a global audience here, but right, like this is a thing. We're going to see big challenges with lung health, with breakthroughs maybe with respiratory health. Let's go that way. Let's be like, oh, now we found something awesome out, right? Or maybe we've been properly dosing ourselves with like the awesomest tinctures from the mushrooms and herbs that we've made because we saw this coming, right? So there's going to be reversals of opinions. There's going to be delays. There's going to be strikes. There's going to be violence. And I unfortunately think that that's going to be in our schools. So I don't want to predict that and put that out there. I want to be like, look, the weather's ripe for that. So let's take every safety precaution possible for our children, for our teachers, for those of you who feel called to homeschool, absolutely. For those of you who feel called to be a public servant or are necessary in public schools, you know what I mean? Like if you have to, or if you want to be there, like bless you, you know what I mean? Like just keep the blessing ball going around the schools and the communities. Because Gemini, people are going to change teams. They're going to change their philosophies. They're going to change their mind when it comes to public health. So just because somebody is so staunchly on this side of the fence, you might see they're on this side of the fence by the end of the year. That's okay. You know, give everybody the grace to change their minds. It's like a crazy, confusing weather forecast right now. It is the end of the era. There's a third pass this year of the United States Pluto return that happens in December. And when I was kind of looking at this, you know, it's like by this point, the economy will have changed. We'll have had more information. Alliances will have shifted. The earth itself will probably even seem mad. You know, I feel like that whole drought dust bowl thing is in my mind. Confronting the dark, not going to be an option. Like the hidden things will be exposed at that point. And one of the quotes that I looked up was Anne Lamott, and she says, hope begins in the dark, right? Hope begins in the dark. And so if you find yourself going through one of those really dark years or seasons or months or days, just maybe that's useful for you. Hope begins in the dark. So where's our hope in this? I'm sorry. I'm trying to be in a good mood about it. Our hope really is in the numerology and the North Node shifting into Taurus. The numerology shifts to a 6 universal year. There's no place like home, right? There's no place like home. And so what lessons do we have from the past? Like what's another 6 universal year? 1941, World War II ended. People are cleaning up the rubble. They're back home. They're settling into a new normal. They're planting victory gardens. They're planting seeds. They're burying the past with some reverence, and they're finding balance and living and letting live, right? Live and let live. 6, balance. So what else what are some other like hot takes of the universal 6 for all of 2022, like that anchor that you go to? Acclimating to new paces and spaces, finding a spiritual home. This could be a church. This could be your yoga studio. This could be a choir that you belong to. You're finding a new spiritual home. Keeping and creating family traditions and house rules and boundaries, stuff like this. Home sweet home. So anything feng shui, changing your address numerology, making a dream home sketch and just dreaming about it. Anything that's like sheltering from the storm in terms of home protection, insurances, security cameras, root cellars, prepper pantries, you better believe, you know, writing your feeling-based intentions and posting them in every different space in your home. This space we want to feel whatever, like joy, connection, right? You're probably going to be craving more home-cooked meals. And so having a handy list of go-to comfort meals is going to be clutch. Having, you know, home is a symbol for emotional security. So are you remothering yourself? How do you remother yourself? What would the wisest mom in the world tell you to do? Maybe you were blessed with the wisest mom in the world. Maybe you weren't. It doesn't even matter. You're working with pretend mom right now, and you're reparenting your inner child all throughout the year. Like, it's all right. We got this, right? Like, you can go play. Everything's safe. You know, like whatever it is. I don't know how your version of messed up is, but I know that your version of like that maternal spiritual being in you is going to want to rise to the occasion and help you out this year. So how do you connect with that mother, that divine mother? Ancestry work, reframing relationships, learning about the asteroid goddess Vesta of hearth and home, Mother Earth guardianship. You guys know me, I could go on about that. All right, so we're at the end here of our forecast. Um, I wanted to give you some more sound bites about the USA Pluto return, this turning of a nation. I didn't really educate around that. You know, we have our birthdays, happy birthday every year, our solar return. We've got our Mars return, the terrible twos. Every 2 years, the Mars returns in that same place it was when you were born, so even birthdays. We've got the Saturn, right? Everybody's worried about, oh, that 27 to 30, that Saturn return period where we have, um, well, okay, so that's the whole thing. And we never make it to our Pluto return because Pluto returns every 248 to 50 years. So countries experience Pluto returns. And there are many people who have done lots of very interesting, fascinating work looking at the Pluto return of ancient empires and countries. This is the first time that we get to do that here in the United States. We get to. And so it's like it's happening in 27 degrees of Capricorn. We're going to experience it 3 hits: February 20th, July 11th, December 28th. We're going to feel it all year. The most amount of pressure is going to be July through December. That's when things are changing for us. That's when we have the biggest window of opportunity to step into a brave new world together. The themes: restorative justice for Native people, for Native plants, seeking peace and harmony, and restoring right relationship with people and land. Unresolved karmic issues with the class systems, the upper class, the lower class, the misuse of power, right? Pluto, Capricorn. I feel like it's going to be this time to revisit as a nation who we are, what we stand for. I think that it's easy to say that whoever's in power or in charge in government offices is going to have a life-altering year. So blessing them. And looking at who we give our power and authority to, those lines are changing. Discovering that true power source in this, all of the individuals that are in the experiment USA, right, are changing their minds about some stuff. They're looking at, where does my life force energy come from, and what do I want to plug into, and what do I not want to plug into? So that's a whole thing. Agendas are going to be exposed. Adam Gainsbourg is an astrologer that I think said it. I took one of his lessons on the Pluto return. I thought he was brilliant. Highly recommend his course. Stephen Forrest, also another astrologer I just, love learning from. But Adam says the USA hasn't been run by the people for the people. It's functioned as a Trojan horse, functioning for those in power. And the astrology reflects that. So other themes are going to be how we handle death, how we handle death rites, burials, rituals. This is the judgment card in Tarot, and the world is watching. This is when we stand in judgment as a nation and as individuals. Is your karma clean? Do you need to do some cleanup? Do you want to be part of the solution? Right? Like, look for the helpers, right? So this year, what's your prayer for 2022? You're going to make that up, not me. But as I was writing the forecast, I'm watching all these documentaries and I'm listening to all these quotes from Black Kettle, and he was one of the earliest peacemakers, right? The earliest cries for peace here on this land, right, of our nation. And some of the things that he said, I was like, whoa. And I took them out. So it says, we've been traveling through a cloud, right? Neptune and Pisces. The sky has been dark ever since the war began, right? It says, although the troops have struck us, we throw it behind us and are glad to meet you in peace and friendship. That sounds like a 6. That sounds like a very balanced, mature, kind thing to say. You've really, really wrecked us completely at every core level. Still going to meet you in friendship. Like, that is like, that's what I want. Although the wrongs have been done to me, I live in hope. Now we're together again to make peace. So there's you some inspiration from Black Kettle. The last piece of inspiration I'm going to give you for a practical magic piece here is The Guest House by Rumi. It's one of my favorite poems. I use it in yoga a lot. And it says, this being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival. A joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still treat each guest honorably. Like the guest of whatever thought comes through, right? He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing. Meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. All right. I hope this has been fun, entertaining, and useful. My disclaimer once again is I didn't pick them all out, but I picked ones that I would want to know about that I want to share with you. I know you have many astrologers to hang out with. I'm really grateful that you hung out with us here today at Wise Skies. And you can check out all our stuff at wiseskiescollective.com. I'm Tiffany, and namaste.